Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. This week, doing some social distancing from our office, and this may be where we'll come to you for the next several weeks due to COVID-19 and the coronavirus. Our special guest this week will be Kansas Secretary of Agriculture Mike Beam. He'll give us an updated look at the state of Kansas agriculture, as well as with all the springtime activities that go on Kansas farm and ranches, what may and may not happen, and just to clarify some of the situations that you may have heard about. We'll also have a feature from the Kansas Soybean Commission, as well as more from the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and our weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association, and some marketing with Paragon Ag Advisors.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
In agriculture news from agview.net, consumers ordering more goods and groceries online during this COVID-19 pandemic. Grocery Drive, which is a web-based grocery industry publication, reports 31% of U.S. households using online grocery services over the last month. And of those surveyed, 26% of consumers report using grocery delivery and pickup services for the first time. 39% of those 60 and older consumers are saying the same. Now, this report is based on a survey of more than 1,600 U.S. adults. This pandemic may permanently alter consumer activity as buyers seeking to avoid crowds at grocery stores and follow those social distancing guidelines. But those current pickup and delivery infrastructures, well, they're not quite meeting the demands. Amazon's Prime Pantry temporarily had to shut down, and many grocery stores offering the services scheduling appointments days after orders are placed compared with the old same-day or next-day options. Also, several online providers announcing they would waive delivery fees for shoppers 60 and older. Well, the Beef Checkoff program and 15 grassroots-led state beef councils won a major court victory recently. In the U.S. District Court of Montana ruled in favor of USDA and the Montana Beef Council in the matter of RCAF versus Sonny Perdue and USDA. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association praising the court's decision. It ends a legal battle that has spanned more than 3 years and interrupted beef promotion functions in the state of Montana. The cattlemen say the case has threatened local input and promotion efforts at the state level all over the country. And the National Pork Producers Council announcing its board has decided to cancel the upcoming 2020 World Pork Expo as due to COVID-19. World Pork Expo 2021 now scheduled for June 9th through 11th at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. World Pork Expo, the world's largest pork-specific trade show, more than 20,000 industry professionals gather for 3 days. Last year, you might recall, it was canceled due to the African swine fever possibility. And another event canceled due to the ongoing pandemic, that is the Wheat Quality Council's Winter Wheat Tour. It was slated to take place in a couple of weeks, and a large group of farmers, industry leaders, educators, millers, and grain traders traipsed across Kansas and parts of Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Colorado getting samples and plus getting an on-the-ground look at the wheat crop. Now, this is the first time the event has been canceled. That began back in the 1970s. Well, that's Ag News. You can find more on these and other stories online anytime at agview.net. Stay with us.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
And welcome back to the Kansas Ag Report. And our special guest this week is Kansas Ag Secretary Mike Beam. Mr. Secretary, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Well, I tell you, this has been an interesting time that we are in, and wanted to have you come on and talk kind of, if you will, kind of the state of Kansas agriculture in light of the coronavirus COVID-19. I know you've had several releases out of doing the best you can to kind of keep things as normal as possible.
Yes, this is unprecedented time, and I was just recently thinking that when we have a so-called disaster, usually it's a fairly short time period, but this is day after day and lingers on, and I know it's starting to probably wear a little on the psyche of everyone, and there's not anyone that it doesn't touch. But I think one of the messages that we think is important is to remind everyone that what our farmers and ranchers do on a day-to-day basis is providing, the food, fuel, and fiber for the immediate needs, but for this country and for the world to come. So part of what we have done and are continuing to do is to try to provide information to our State Emergency Operations Center as they get questions about, what is an essential function and what can and can still be done. So we've also just recently sent a news release out saying, it's for the most part, it's business as usual for agriculture, but we're doing business in a new way. And so it's very challenging, and we try to remind folks that even with the stay-home order and the social distancing, that still applies once we're off the clock or not actively, directly serving those essential functions.
Well, this time of the year, of course, we've turned the calendar. We're into April. That means spring field work, if it hasn't already begun, will begin soon. Planting intentions, we kind of know what those are. That means there's going to be a lot of things going on. So we have assurances that folks will be able to get the inputs that they need then of all those things kind of been taken into consideration. So maybe a few extra phone calls with your supplier to make sure that everybody kind of understands how to get the needs, the things that they need.
Well, sure. I think just make sure to plan ahead and call ahead, which I think is probably not really needs to be said. But you're right. We're at a busy season with spring planting, cattle being processed, turned out on grass. But again, fortunately, that can be done with, in most cases with groups of less than 10 and always with appropriate social distancing.
What about, this time of the year? We'll talk maybe more about other things that goes on in the spring, but sometimes we do brandings. Any advice there for those groups to get together? I assume those kind of same rules apply this year.
Well, I would say yes. It's we need to take into consideration. We maybe need to do things a little bit differently. but it's what has happened in people's interaction over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, and the next 2 weeks is statewide, nationwide. That's going to determine how much more of this virus that spreads. So always keep that in mind.
We're talking with Mike Beam, the Kansas Secretary of Agriculture. Let's take a quick break. We'll have more in just a moment.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Kansas Farm Bureau has served farm families in rural Kansas for more than 100 years, and we're pleased to offer new healthcare coverage choices for Kansans in 2020 through Kansas Farm Bureau health plans. No matter what stage of life you're in, we'll have options that fit your lifestyle. Plus, our network of providers is one of the largest available throughout the state of Kansas and beyond. For more information, including the different plans available, or to get a quote, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
And let's continue our conversation now with Mike Beam, who is the Kansas Secretary of Agriculture. And Mr. Secretary, of course, this time of the year, the other thing that goes on is a lot of burning, especially in the Flint Hills. We've seen different reports of this isn't going to happen, maybe reduced. What can you tell us when it comes to this annual spring event?
Well, yes, we've been in coordination with the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, and they are the entity that really monitors air quality and has, the burning regulations, which are pretty minimal for agricultural burning. But together we put out a news release recently, and the intent was for the news release was really twofold. One is a consideration for burning less than what you may have planned otherwise, because that sometimes this smoke can drift into some areas, and one of the real symptoms or problems that folks have who contract the disease is respiratory issues. And secondly, we don't want to overtax our emergency responders. And the second message is that those in the Flint Hills have a tool at this ksfire.org website where you can look out 48 hours from your specific geographic locations and get a determination what the likelihood or level of smoke drifting into urban centers will be. And so it's a reminder, gosh, if you're in that red area, it's the best thing is to not to burn that day, because that means that it's likely to cause some problems in population centers.
Before we let you go, a couple of other things. Obviously, we talk a lot about production agriculture, the livestock industry, but KDA also regulates a lot of different things. You have put some things, you and the governor have put some things in place to help licensees of some of the things that you kind of make sure keep commerce moving.
Yes, we do license and regulate fuel. And so what a lot of folks don't understand is that EPA has guidelines that on April 1, all the gas stations, fuel stations are to go to a lower vapor fuel. And because of less demand and use, we still have a lot of the winter blend fuel out in the distribution areas. So we've provided a waiver that folks can continue to sell and move that winter blend fuel at least to the end of April. Secondly, we have a food safety and lodging program where our folks inspect all food service entities. And there's probably nobody hit harder by this than food service, including restaurant folks. So we've issued guidance to the food service industry, particularly designed for restaurants who may have a big supply of product on hand. This guidance basically says you can resell that to retail establishments or even individual consumers. And here are the guidelines and safety precautions to do. So it's hopefully a way that will help open up some more food opportunities where with these local grocery stores and supermarkets and individual consumers as well.
All right, Mike. Well, we know you're a busy guy, but we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to kind of give us an update of what's going on, especially dealing with things with the Kansas Department of Agriculture through this coronavirus, COVID-19. So best of luck, and we'll get through this thing together and stay safe.
Thank you. Stay safe, keep the distance, and keep smiling.
All right, Mike Beam, the Kansas Secretary of Agriculture, has joined us. Stay with us. We have more coming up.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Kinlan Johannes, the CEO of the Kansas Soybean Association and the administrator of the Kansas Soybean Commission, was awarded the American Soybean Association's Pinnacle Award. The Pinnacle Award is the industry-wide recognition of individuals who have demonstrated the highest level of contribution and leadership within the soybean family and industry through work involving a significant amount of their lifetime, and is the American Soybean Association's highest honor. For nearly 40 years, Kinlan Johannes has focused on broadening relationships to strengthen the soybean industry. He started his career as an educator before coming back to his family farm in Nebraska, where he got involved in the Nebraska Soybean Board. He then served as the top executive for soybean associations in Wisconsin and Missouri. In the early 1990s, recognizing the untapped potential of surplus soybean oil, Johannes worked with farmer leaders and university researchers to promote and identify a new use for soybean oil: biodiesel. In 1992, Johannes' biodiesel passion led him to become the first executive director of the newly formed National Soy Diesel Development Board, which later became the National Biodiesel Board. Johannes' commitment and skills as an educator and organizer, particularly around biodiesel, have made the U.S. soybean industry stronger for all.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansans have a new choice for Medicare supplement insurance plans. With Medicare supplement insurance plans from Kansas Farm Bureau, you have access to 4 levels of coverage, affordable rates, and service from an organization that's served Kansans for more than 100 years. For more information on Kansas Farm Bureau Medicare supplement plans, including rates and to apply, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
the world continues to face new challenges daily as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, thousands of Kansans who work in a wide variety of roles within agriculture are continuing their efforts to serve the needs of the state. Yes, agriculture is an essential function, and we're still in business, but it's certainly not business as usual. Here at the Kansas Department of Agriculture, while the office doors are closed to the public, we are still working from home to support the agriculture stakeholders and licensees who are focused on their continuity of business. Kansas is fifth in the nation in value of ag production, so we know the state and the nation are relying upon Kansas farmers, ranchers, and agribusinesses for the food, fuel, and fiber they produce. The cattle must be fed, the grain must be milled, and the food must be processed and packaged and delivered to your grocery store. So that work continues, and everyone in Kansas agriculture is re-examining everything they do to increase online capabilities, limit human-to-human interaction, and enhance their already robust biosecurity efforts so they can produce what we all need while protecting their families, their employees, and their partners in the food supply chain. Throughout it all, KDA will still be here to help and support Kansas agriculture. We have a special page on our website dedicated to COVID-19 response, with ag-related industry guidance, state and national ag resources, updated news about the state response, and contact information to reach staff in all of the KDA divisions and programs. Go to agriculture.ks.gov/coronavirus, or just click on the link on our homepage. Our focus remains on the continuity of the food supply chain, public health and safety, and the protection of animal health and welfare. And our gratitude remains directed at all of you out there who are serving the needs of the state right now in so many ways. Be safe.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
In response to the changing societal norms brought on by the coronavirus, the Kansas Beef Council has increased its digital advertising to emphasize more retail purchasing information and is providing cook-at-home meal solutions for Kansas consumers. With more people at home and online, the ramped-up digital strategy is targeting users with beef cooking tips and nutritional information. As a result, the checkoff-funded effort reached more than 300,000 people with over 600,000 impressions between March 16th and March 24th. In addition, digital promotion efforts during this time frame generated more than 14,000 web page views and 22,000 video views. KBC also has reached out to traditional media outlets with information on how ground beef is the perfect option for consumers looking to cook a delicious and nutritious meal at home. On a national level, NCBA is closely tracking consumer sentiment specific to coronavirus and any concerns that might impact beef safety or consumer demand. So far, none have been noted. Although 80% of consumers say they are concerned about the virus and what is happening with the economy, they trust the food system. The NCBA Consumer Marketing and Research Team is adjusting current checkoff-funded advertising, media relations, and grassroots advocacy programs to reinforce beef's nutritional profile and how it contributes to healthy diets.
Premier Farm & Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm & Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know-to-Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Hello, I am Aaron with Paragon Ag, a division of Keiko Isom, and I am here to talk about the cash grain markets. Corn basis has been suffering lately with everything going on in the world. Saudi Arabia and Russia have been in a price war after discussions on production cuts to address coronavirus. This has had a huge effect on domestic ethanol and corn demand. Currently, ethanol is trading sub $1 per gallon and is causing ethanol plants to cut back and even stop production. Because of this, corn basis has suffered and continues to do so. On Tuesday, the USDA came out with prospective plantings report and announced bearish news of an estimated 97 million acres of corn expected to be planted. Though basis has been weaker, there are still opportunities to sell into certain markets at reasonable basis values. Feedlots are buying hand-to-mouth to fit their needs in the nearby and not sticking their necks out too far. Soybean basis values have slipped back recently from recent values as well. Based on recent years' values, currently we are well above where we were at this time last year. There are opportunities for good values for those who look and know good markets. The USDA report on Tuesday had bean acres up 10% compared to last year at 83.5 million acres. Grainstock's report had soybeans down 17% from last year at 2.25 billion bushels. Wheat has been fairly steady in basis values. Buyers are starting to look at getting new crop positions put together and are likely offering some good values for harvest time frame on your wheat. It might be a good idea to at least start to get a feel for new crop wheat values. The planted acres report had wheat acres at 44.7 million acres, down 1% from last year. If you have any questions, looking for any help getting values for your grain, or wanting other selling advice, give us a shout at 888-452-8751.
And that's our show this week. Be social with us, even socially distant, if you will, online at KansasAgReport.net or on Facebook, Twitter, or our YouTube channel, Kansas Ag Report. Be good to your neighbor. Be good to yourself. Wash your hands, keep a safe distance, and work hard. We have a world to feed. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.